Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being live streamed, distributed and recorded, and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Simeon Morrow, Public Speaking and Presentations, Vienna Live with Simeon Morrow, and other third parties. If you prefer to not be recorded, please turn off your camera and microphone and or go to the LinkedIn live video feed, the link to which I'll now place in the chat room. Equally, you from LinkedIn are welcome to come to our Zoom room. I just put that link in the chats. For a better experience, please turn off your microphone and set your video to gallery view. This show thrives on participant contributions, and all participants are encouraged to actively participate by asking questions and making comments. To do so, please either turn on your microphone to say hi right in the chat room, or get my attention, and we'd be very glad to include your perspective in the conversation. Tonight, our featured guests are Beatrice Benzi, opera coach at Teatro, alla Scala, who joins us from Milan, Italy; Yelena Kurdina, opera coach at the Metropolitan Opera, who joins us from New York City, New York; Dr. Nino Sanikidze, opera coach at the LA Opera, who joins us from Los Angeles, California; and Luisella Germano, former opera coach at the Vienna State Opera and now faculty at the University for Music and Performing Arts Vienna, who joins us from Vienna, Austria. Beatrice, welcome.
Thank you.
Beatrice, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I am an opera coach at Teatro alla Scala in Milan, and I'm also faculty at the Accademia del Teatro alla Scala, which is connected to the theater. Accademia has programs for young singers, young pianists, and so I teach there for both programs. And when I'm free from this, I take part in some opera programs, like, for example, during the summer, Bel Canto in Tuscany, and some things also in the United States, in Reno, Nevada, as you know, with Dolores Zajic. And I coach privately singers, which is the thing I enjoy the most, probably.
Fantastic. Yelena, welcome.
Thank you. Very glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Our pleasure.
Thank you. I'm based in New York. I work at the Metropolitan Opera as a vocal coach and a prompter. Well, we're called assistant conductors. For many years, I was a guest coach on at Washington Opera, Young Artist Program, LA Opera, Young Artist Program. I also work with Bea in the summer, sometimes in Reno, Nevada, with Dolores Zajic. And I coach singers, and I sometimes perform singers in recital.
Okay. Luisella, welcome.
Thank you. Very happy to be here. So thank you for inviting me. I come from Turin in Italy. I studied at the Accademia alla Scala that Beatrice mentioned. I worked in Turin for 9 years, and then I came to Vienna when I won the audition, and I was responsible for the Italian repertoire at the Vienna State Opera for 8 years. Then I started teaching at the university, where I am now almost full-time working, and I am freelancing when the university allows me to do that.
Okay. Nino, welcome.
Thank you so much. What a great pleasure and honor to be amongst these wonderful ladies, and you. Thank you, Sam, for the invitation. As you mentioned, I chime in from Los Angeles. I'm a head coach for the Young Artist Program, Domingo Kolbenstein Young Artist Program at LA Opera. I also work as an assistant conductor and a prompter on performances of main stage operas. And my job here is seasonal, but in summers, I'm a faculty artist at the Music Academy of the West, which is held in Santa Barbara, where I myself was a student, and now it's wonderful to be back as a teacher. I do freelance. I teach residencies at the universities and work in different theaters when I'm able to, like Luisella and Beatrice and Yelena, everybody. So it's really wonderful to have this job. I could not ask for anything better.
Okay, it's so nice to meet all of you. And likewise, Nino, it's our honor, it's my honor to have the four of you on this program. So let's have a look at Nino performing Fleur Jetée. Okay, so let's start with Nino. This is our first roundtable, and the roundtable question is, what does an opera coach do? As we just heard Bea, all of you actually saying you do so many different things. Nino, tell us, what is an opera coach? If I was somebody who had never heard of opera or had no idea what it was all about, how do you explain the jobs you do as an opera coach?
It might be easier to say what we don't do, right? So, opera coach, very aptly, you wrote the introduction in which you kind of said we have to be so many different things. And in our job as an opera coach to singer, and it doesn't matter if the singer is a young starting singer or seasoned professional, I think the kind of support they need and want is very similar. We have to give them information in a very loving and supporting way. We have to give them also corrections and criticism in a very loving and supporting way. So in some way, I think we have to kind of know musically very many things, historically very many things, literature-wise, because operas are based on fantastic source material, of course, always. So yeah, it varies from starting as basic as teaching notes and words and right pronunciation, because we also have to be some way of linguists in different languages. It can go from that level to really getting them ready to meet and work with fantastically accomplished conductors who will expect really high level of preparation. So everything in between is on us. And of course, with great love and support.
And Nino, can you tell us a little bit about these photos we were just seeing? Beatrice, I think you mentioned that you're also a prompter also. So yeah, you say you do this, you're preparing the singer. When you say coach, I think about somebody who is, where the World Cup is happening right now. The coach is on the sidelines, and the players are doing everything pretty much. I see you're right there in the middle of the stage. You're right there in the middle of everybody. What is exactly you're doing? And can you tell us a little bit about that work as a prompter?
I'm often getting asked if coach means voice teacher, and not necessarily. I mean, I don't sing or I don't know vocal technique, but I can hear when something's wrong, and then I tell them, go see your teacher and fix this. Or sometimes singers are accomplished themselves to know that if we hear something, whether it's out of tune or tiredness or something, they know, we just told them fix it and they know how to fix it. As a prompter is kind of like mediatory conductor on stage, because especially in the United States, the distances are so far away from stage to the conductor. It helps to have someone in between. And also it gives conductors the freedom to conduct the orchestra and do like general overall umbrella of the music, where we are focused directly on the singers, and we prep them for it. As a prompter, the preparation is a little different because we have to be very much ahead of everything, and we have to speak a little earlier than actually musically it comes. I go to every rehearsal. I get to know the singers very well. I'm sure everybody does this because we get to know what they need. There are some singers who need prompting right on time. There are some who like it earlier, and you know, that's just it's very collaborative process. And at the end, I think everybody agrees with me, is kind of like security blanket. We're there to supportingly, lovingly tell them they're doing a fantastic job.
Okay, fantastic. So how about let's go with Luisella. Luisella, can you tell us a little bit about your work? Tell us about what does an opera coach
so
do?
Nino explained perfectly everything we are supposed to do. Another thing that it happens to me very often to do is to play for the recits during the performance. So you are in the pit and you play the cembalo or the fortepiano, Hammerklavier. And especially when I was in Staatsoper, where sometimes you don't have the chance to rehearse with the singers because he had to jump in. You have to follow, you just have the harmony, you have to follow the singer, what he's singing, and to stay with the scene. So if something happens, you have to play with the music something just to show what is happening on the scene. And then another thing very important, maybe the most stressful, is to play for a competition or for an audition, because mostly you don't need the singer before and you just get the chance to be in contact with her, with him for a few minutes, and you have to immediately to have a good connection with him, with her, and to get him, her to feel that they are safe with you, they can trust you completely.
And Luisella, so what happens if you, as you said, the competitions, so there's a lot of stress on the singer. So I imagine that means a lot of stress on the accompanist. How do you feel if you start playing, if you get nervous and play some wrong notes or whatever? I mean, how do you keep your cool? How do you keep being that support for those people who are under so much stress?
The most important thing is, yeah, to keep calm and to stay concentrated, not on you, on the singers, what he needs, the tempo, to feel if compared with the rehearsal that you just had, if he needs to go a bit faster or slower, because you are there for him to serve the singer.
Okay, so you pretty much you're always there. You think of yourself last, you think of the singer first. Well, Luisa, tell us about what is this conversation about here? I think that's Placido Domingo there in the
we were last year in Budapest, Chacun Cruz, the tenor, Maestro Domingo. We were recording Verdi, the Father, so almost all the duets, and Maestro Domingo was singing with all the winners of the Operalia, the different editions of Operalia editions. So Pretty Yende, Chacun Cruz, Garifulina. Here was a concert, and with Maestro Domingo in Vienna a few years ago, and the last picture here was in State Opera with Maestro Dudamel, premiere of Turandot, 2016.
Okay.
We were probably talking about the finale, which one?
Oh, okay. So you're not telling him, no, Maestro, that's wrong.
Yeah, a lot of friends told me that it was like you are saying. No, I don't remember, because it was an official photo from State Opera.
Oh, okay, got it. Oh, wow, fantastic. Wonderful. So tell us now, Yelena, tell us what is it that an opera coach does?
Well, first of all, you know, the ladies described it perfectly, but I want to mention the fact that most of us serve in different capacities. So as an accompanist, you basically follow the singer. That's our job. As a vocal coach, you lead the singer and you tell them what to do, how to do it correctly. So we wear different hats. And as a prompter, as Nino said, you know, we serve kind of as an assistant and intermediary between the conductor and the singer. And we concentrate solely on the singer and helping them. And, you know, in my experience as a prompter, which I've been doing quite a bit in the last few years, something I love very much. Singers don't very often need words, at least in my experience. But what they do need is assurance that this is their time, this is their moment. So we give them cues. If there is a big ensemble and they may not be able to hear something, they need to see someone who knows that they need help or to reassure them. So as a coach, depending on the singer and depending on the level of the singer, sometimes we just go through the part. If it's a very young singer who needs help learning notes, rhythms, pronunciation, we help them with that. Sometimes it's a question of interpretation, sometimes it's a question of diction. I do a lot of coaching of Russian diction and Russian repertoire. So there are many, many facets, and that is exactly what I personally love so much, that it's not always me just playing rehearsals or me just coaching someone, preparing them for a role. It's this and that and performing, which makes it extremely exciting for me.
Okay, and tell us, I think this is also Placido Domingo, whom you're
This
speaking with?
coaching him, yeah, in Los Angeles for the Queen of Spades, and there were some pictures of coaching young singers in New York, in Princeton, in Mexico. I'm not sure because I wasn't following the photos very carefully.
And do you remember what you're saying here? Are you saying, Maestro Domingo, I'm sorry, you're wrong, that's the wrong note? Or
I don't
what?
remember what I'm saying because that was 2001, 20 years ago.
Okay.
We had a wonderful time, so it wasn't anything bad.
Fantastic. Okay. And also we see a lot of these photos and you're doing
Bard College, probably King Roger. Nino knows the opera.
Fantastic.
I think we did it together, right?
We did, yes.
Yeah. So this is performing with the mezzo soprano. This is Mexico, coaching at the organization for young singers in Mexico City.
Okay, fantastic. Beatrice, what does an opera coach do?
Well, my colleagues have already said everything about it, so there is very little I can say, but I can say that I'm not a prompter. I might be called to do the prompter if one of my colleagues, one prompter is ill, for example, I can jump in, but I am a pianist most of all. I'm a pianist, and I can say that most of the time in my life I spend simulating the orchestra. I am an orchestra simulation. So I play from a score, a reduction from the orchestra, and I play for stage rehearsals, music rehearsals, and the most stressful moments, I agree with my friends here, is accompanying auditions, because auditions and competitions, when you have so many applicants, you know, and they all sing different arias. I've just been accompanist of the Vienna competition, the selection here in Milan, and there have been 55 candidates. So it's been a long day with a lot of arias to play, and I know what it means. And fortunately, I'm not alone when I do that. I always have another person helping me, so we can rehearse with them 5 minutes before they perform on stage. So they have some time to rehearse and sometimes to perform, but you know, it takes a whole day to do that. And when you come home, you're really tired in the end. But my work at La Scala is accompanying rehearsals, because of course, stage rehearsals you cannot do with the orchestra because they go slowly and the director must show the movements he wants from singers. And so you must stop and very frequently. And so with a pianist, it's easier. And music rehearsals are very stressful with conductors, of course. And conductors tell all the musical things that they want from singers. And so again, you play and you stop and you try to be absolutely of help during the rehearsal. So follow the conductor. And after this, of course, I also become an assistant conductor. I don't prompt, but I am sitting between the conductor and the singers, just behind the conductor during the orchestra rehearsals, and everything the conductor wants, I bring messages to the singers. I take care of them, exactly what my friends said before. And I think it's the most beautiful job in the world, because you work with these amazing people, very famous superstars of opera and very important conductors, and you are kind of assistant to everybody.
So Beatrice, what can I ask, why did you not then want to go into prompting or these kind of things? You said that you're doing pretty much the work that other people kind of, as you said, it's very, very taxing to accompany these competitions, but you seem to be the one who does the most of that in this group. Is that right?
I don't know, because I think my colleagues do that as well. But I'm not a prompter just because La Scala has different contracts. They hire people for prompting and people for playing, and so it's very specific. And so, but if, of course, if someone, this happened a few months ago with Ballo in Maschera, one of my colleagues, a prompter. He got COVID, so I had to go in the pit and do what Nino and Yelena do. But I can do it, but it's not my principal job. That's all.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah. Yes.
I just want to say that, everybody has their preferences, and sometimes we get asked to do something. And, I was asked to prompt, and I loved it. So, but for a long time, I did both. What Bea does a lot, I would do that on one production and then would prompt another production. In the last 2 years, I've been doing prompt at the Met. So, but it's really, it depends on what you're asked to do and sometimes what you prefer to do as well. And at different times in your career and your life, you do different things. So.
Yes, I agree. Because Bea just mentioned Vignes. I played Vignes Los Angeles District selections last week too. And there are some competitions like Operalia, like Luisella played last year, where we are able to arrive a little early and rehearse with singers. And it is wonderful gift for them and for us. Because even though it's just a half an hour or an hour that we work with them, and most likely once they're on stage and they're nervous, it's going to be different. But you still get to know a singer a little bit, and you know what kind of musician that is and what they're singing, especially with the element of Operalia, where they add the zarzuela, which is not necessarily something that is in everybody's mainstream aria repertoire. It's very useful. So Operalia is one of the unique competitions I have done that allows us to rehearse with singers earlier.
It's perfectly organized. Yeah.
So.
Any comments about that, Luisella?
I just said, probably you didn't hear me. It's perfectly organized. It's the only competition that I know where you have 2 days to rehearse with the singers. And last year, I do remember that for each singer was about 1 hour. But of course, they have to sing 6 or 7 arias. So it's like 10 minutes for each aria.
Okay, let's, speaking of Operalia, let's have a look at Luisella accompanying one of the singers. Okay, so let's start. Luisella, with the Luisella, this is our next roundtable, and the question is, what makes a good opera coach? And can anyone learn those skills? So Luisella, I'm about to show, as we're talking, a lot of these places where the four of you are teaching. And as you mentioned, I think Nino was just saying, and you were both saying about how important it is to have that time to work with the singers, and that what you hate is just being thrown on stage with them. So I imagine there is something about that those human relationships, that musical relationship that's so important. Tell us now, what makes a good opera coach? Can anyone learn those skills?
So the most important things is to, of course, you have to study to learn so many things. I still do remember when I came here in Vienna, where the program was 54 operas in the whole season. So you have to learn as much as possible. But the most important thing is to be flexible, to be ready to do, like my colleagues said, so many different things, to be ready to jump in. And also with the work with the singers, for example, in Austria, in Germany, we have this system where we have an ensemble. So we have to work to prepare the young singers to sing or to be ready to jump in to cover this role. A good opera coach should be also, let's say, a psychologist. So to be ready to understand immediately what the singer needs. And of course, before that, this is exactly what you learn at Accademia alla Scala. So much repertoire as is possible. You have to sing during the rehearsals when a singer is missing, with your voice, of course, as loud as possible, so that the colleagues can hear your words, your text, and they will not get lost. These are the most important things. I also just did a couple of times the prompter. I am also principal pianist, and here at the university I am not doing that. I am working with singers. You have also the possibility to become a coach, master, and before that bachelor. So in the instrumental department there are courses for vocal coaches, and you can get lessons, and you can also follow the production. We have 2 productions every year with singers, so you can do both, and you can prepare yourself to the real, for example, every season. Now I can see it. Almost every season we have Hansel and Gretel. In May we will have Idomeneo, Mozart. Last year we did Die Verkaute Braut from Smetana, and before that we did Nozze di Figaro, Così fan tutte. The singers are singing, the orchestra is the orchestra from students. The conductor is mostly a professor, a teacher, but sometimes students are also conducting. I was playing the fortepiano twice, but sometimes also the students are playing for the recits when we have a Mozart or Rossini opera.
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot. Nino, how about what's your opinion there? What is important to do as a coach? Do you agree with Luisella? And can anybody learn it? Luisella, she's teaching these people to do that work that it's even difficult to explain. I mean, how many different components there are that you need to do well all at once?
Absolutely, what Luisella said is so right. I think just like in every job, everyone can learn skills, and then you apply them and make your own, and apply them and into your own set of talents and your own personality as well. I think part of the reason we all do what we do is, or maybe I'll speak for myself, but I'm a communal person. I like doing things with others. And sometimes, you know, we see solo musicians who are very focused on their own solo performance, but I'm not like that. So I like sharing stage with others, sharing the rehearsal with others. So I think that comes into the play when it's after you've learned everything. And of course, you know, as a coach, as you teach the role to a singer, you teach one role, but you have to learn all of the other roles in the opera because you never know when that will be needed, right? And also it's part of our education. In the Young Artist program, we always have young artist coaches. And yes, absolutely. This is the job that you can learn in the room, but also that you learn in practice. So we always make sure that young artist coaches are in the production as pianists and sometimes play harpsichord, sometimes play whatever is needed so that they can gain more and more skills. So when they graduate from the Young Artist program, they can be hireable in the places like Vienna and Metropolitan and La Scala, etc., etc. I'm very proud to say that last two performances that we just had, Omar was conducted by our young artist graduate, Kazem Abdullah, and Tosca we have right now is conducted by young artist graduate, Luis Loresep. And also Tosca is sung by young artist graduate, Angel Blue. And we had Lucia in the beginning of the year with two of the young artist graduates, Liv Redpath and Amanda Woodbury. So it's fantastic for me personally and for the company to be able to invite back these young artists who have gone to great stages and become such accomplished musicians that we can bring them back and make them part of our own production team. You're muted.
Nino, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about your education? Luisella told us she was trained at this Accademia alla Scala. How did you then learn all of those skills? Did you go to a program like that, or did you learn it on by your own, or how did that work?
Well, as I said, I think early on in like my late teens, I started playing with singers and instrumentalists because I like that better. So I am from Tbilisi, Georgia, and I have a degree in accompanying. After I finished my conservatory, I have a postgraduate degree in accompanying. And then I came to the United States on scholarship and also have my doctoral degrees in collaborative piano. And while I was doing that, I got accepted into the opera studio at Washington National Opera, where Yelena was one of my teachers. And that's where we met. And that was already, so these studios like this, as I mentioned, are a great tool to be practically applying everything you learn. You know, you can be learning as much as possible, but if you are not sitting rehearsal playing, if you're not in the prompter's box, if you're not on stage, if you're not backstage, if you're not living that life, it's really difficult to theoretically know about it. And then, of course, as you grow and experience it, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years and you learn something that then you can start sharing with the younger generation. Even some things like you as a Marcello walk in on stage at this time, and this is what's happening, because that's the most standard way. Of course, some directors will change it, but it's kind of like, this is what will be most likely happening, or this is what you should be expecting. And, you know, just some little experience traits.
Wow. Okay, fantastic. So this is a great time to bring in Yelena. Yelena, what makes a good coach? Can you learn it?
You can learn it and you can't learn it. You can learn all the skills, as Nino said and Luisella. You can learn the repertoire, you can learn languages. What you cannot learn is loving another voice or a voice singing and not always concentrating on your own playing. So if that ability is not inside you, you can be learning everything and still not be a good coach or accompanist. But if you have that initial talent of listening outside of yourself and making music with others, then you can learn the rest. I, sometimes would hear wonderful pianists who happen to be accompanying somebody or wanting to accompany someone. And they were not able to listen to the singer. Well, part of it, maybe they didn't know the repertoire, but basically it's, you know, they will think as a solo pianist and concentrate on themselves. And that's not derogatory, it's just an ability. Yeah, certain ability to collaborate and communicate musically with others. So if you have that innately, I think the rest can do it.
Okay. And
All I have to
Bea, you're teaching at the Accademia alla Scala. Do you agree with Yelena?
Absolutely, yes, yes. I'm teaching also for the pianists who want to learn to be coaches, and so I know this subject very well. I agree with Yelena with the fact that I always tell my students that our job is a teamwork. We work with other people. We are not the main character in the story. And we are serving in some way other people. So it's good to keep always keep the eye on the team. So on a production, there might be two coaches, two pianists, because of course we cannot do everything one pianist alone. So we are two, and it's good to have a good collaboration between the two pianists. And even if there is one principal pianist and a help pianist, but still a good collaboration with the prompter, and most of all, a good collaboration with conductor and singers. We are not the main character. We probably are somehow, but we must not show we are. So sometimes when you go to the theater and you see a performance, if people know us, probably they see the fingerprint of someone of us, because they know how we like to prepare a singer or how we like to prepare the whole show. I mean, how we collaborate with conductors and singers, but it must not appear. I always tell my students, if they want to be prima donna, this is already something wrong in our job, because they concentrate on their playing, they concentrate on showing how good they are, and it's not about this job. Collaboration is the main thing, and singers are the most important thing. We must take care, and we must love voices and help singers get better and better and better. Then in the end of the production, you receive chocolate and flowers. So you understand you've been important, but until then, it's service to them. So.
Wow. Okay. So let's listen to the performance of the Stone Guest, performed, accompanied by Yelena. Here it is. Okay, so Yelena, you look like you are in complete control, even though, as Bea was saying, nobody would say, well, you're causing the singer to do all of this, or you're directing the singer in any way. Tell us, so this brings us to our third roundtable, and I'm going to ask two questions in one. What was your worst experience? What has it been at the Opera House, and what has your best experience been?
My worst experience was not at the Opera House. I was still a student, and I always accompanied singers, but I had never played for a conductor for rehearsals. And one summer I decided to do that, and so I asked, there was an opera course, and they did the Mikado, Gilbert and Sullivan. And the conductor said, oh, you'll be wonderful, blah, 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 blah. So, and I asked him to spend a little time with me going through the piece. I said, oh, you don't need to do it, you're so good. So, I looked at the score, there's nothing to play, so I came to rehearsals, but what I didn't realize was that you're not supposed to follow singers, you're supposed to follow conductor. So that was a big discovery for me. So that was my first awful experience, because he kept yelling at me and saying, you have to follow me, you have to follow me. But I was following the singer. So, and my best was probably my first job at the Met. It was very exciting, everything was new, and I worked with legends, with Mira Lafreni and Nikolai Gaurov and Seiji Ozawa. So I will never forget that. And then, aside from my first awful experience, I don't think I've had a bad experience in theater, actually.
Wow.
Some are more exciting, but I would not say awful or,
Okay.
a wonderful ride.
Nino?
Well, actually, I was thinking about it like, I am incurably optimistic, happy person. It will take, because, I don't know, maybe it's partly like the hard life we've all had in 90s in Soviet Union, or so. There is something that I will always find something to make me happy. So especially in the opera, where there is so many elements, I think it's going to be hard to find something that just ruins it all, because there's always going to be, music is great and conductor is great or not, or singers are great or not, there's always something to find nice. But I think the worst, it's more like a funny, it turned out to be funny, but it was pretty bad at the time. I was prompting Romeo and Juliet, and in the scene where there's a big fight, it's a big orchestra, big choral scene, and the costumes were extremely crinoline. They were not like in the period of where Romeo and Juliet set. It was more like period of where Traviata is set. So all of the chorus is wearing these huge dresses and everything, and they're like shuffling on the stage because, there is fight and there is rain and everything's happening. And our scores have, as a prompter, your score kind of stands out a little bit on the stage. And one of the dresses got cut on the score, and as they were running away, they took away my score. And I see it somewhere on like left side of the stage, just sitting there. And I'm thinking, I know it by then, it so well, it by heart, you can work on it. But now I'm worried because there's so much fight and sword fight and everything. And what if somebody steps on it and slips and hurt themselves? And, you think of all these billion things at the time when you have to be also like, okay, big ensemble, you go now. And people who saw my face, because some people don't even realize it's so busy on stage, I didn't, but people who saw my face, they said it was like this like state of shock of like, well, I don't know what to do. Thankfully, one of the supers, the extras who play, sometimes they play servants or sometimes they play soldiers or anything, he saw that, and he was supposed to die in like center stage, except he went and died like closer to the score. So he kicked it and it slid back to me. So, and of course, nobody in the audience knew this because it's all happening on like lateral level. But stage managers who have the aerial view, they're like, what is that thing sitting in the stage, that big white thing? So, as I said, at the moment, it was truly like, I don't know how to solve this. Like, shall I climb out of the box and go get that score? Can you imagine if I did that? But right now it's like funny memory, because usually things fall into the prompter's box, like something rolls down, it's a bottle, or you know, when we do Bohème, more often when Musetta brings the plate, it ends up in my box always. Sometimes it's a pen, like there's always something falling in. This was the only time when it's like fell out. So it was very,
Okay.
yeah, and the best, really, every day is best, really. And especially now, I was telling someone, I'm at the age and the level of career where everyone who comes to work is a friend that I met somewhere or worked somewhere. And it is such a joy. You know, there is very rarely cast member that I don't know. You know, as I said, I've been doing this for so long, and we all kind of like, if they're my age, we grew up together. If they're older, they were my mentors. If they're younger, I taught them. So I love that. That's the best part.
That's lovely. Wow. Beatrice?
I was thinking about something that happened many years ago at La Scala on it was not the 7th of December, it was an Aida opening on the 7th of December, and we had Roberto Alagna, principal tenor, so he sang the aria on the opening night. Everything went well. He was very nervous, but everything went well. But on the second performance, you know, our audience at La Scala, the top floors there, you might have friends or enemies over there. So he sang beautifully the aria, but someone decided to boo him for just a second. So I was on stage with one of my colleagues and with the director. And we saw after the aria, Roberto Alagna leaving the stage, but he had to sing the terzetto after the aria. So we looked at each other, what happens? He decided to leave the performance, so there was no tenor on stage. So my colleague ran after him, trying to catch him and convince him to come back, but no way. So his cover, whose name was Antonello Palombi, was there talking to us. He was dressed with a black jacket and jeans. And I looked with my friends and I said, do we do it or not? And we pushed Antonello Palombi on stage, and he continued he finished singing all the first act with his blue jeans. And then he changed dresses for the second and third act. And this thing became very famous. On the next day, it was on all the newspapers. So I was the prince, really, really collaborating in that situation. The main character, probably.
Fantastic. Wow. Luisella?
About the worst experience, I have in mind something similar to what Yelena told us, because it was my first production in Teatro Regio. I was in the pit. It was the last or almost the last stage of rehearsals, so before the orchestra comes. And I was alone in the pit, and the director from stage told me, okay, let's go start. But I saw that no conductor was there. So I thought, okay, should I start or not? I had almost no experience. And he repeated again, come on, let's go. So I started playing, and in 5 seconds, the conductor ran into the pit and he started yelling at me. You are so impolite. Why are you here? So unprofessional to start with. And he kept yelling at me for 10 minutes because he couldn't find the right place we were rehearsing. So I will never forget that rehearsal. But the day after, he came to me and he apologized.
Wow, sounds
Pretty
very
shocking.
insecure, very insecure. He could not be an opera coach, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. The best experience for sure, the first time I worked with Maestro Muti. Very stressful, of course. It was in Japan with Vienna State Opera, not City Figaro, and it was just a dream to be sitting at the piano and then fortepiano. I did remember the rehearsal when I was a student in La Scala, and he was still there. So just a dream.
And so this was just for you as personally, it was a dream come true to be working with the Riccardo Muti. Okay, wonderful. So let's take a look at Beatrice, who is accompanying. Here she is in the pit. Let's see this.
This is a rehearsal. Okay. Okay. I just have videos of rehearsal. I didn't think to send recitals, but it's interesting just to show what happens while rehearsing on stage. Yeah.
Well, I think it says a lot also. It says exactly what we've been talking about the whole time, that this is so important to all of you, is supporting others and not putting yourself in the spotlight. So this brings us to our final question. Let's start with you, Beatrice. What are your last thoughts when you think about the future of opera? What is, you've been doing this career for so long, what do you look forward to? What do you hope for others? What do you hope for yourself?
Well, I hope opera will last forever. My only worry is that, you know, young generations might lose the pleasure of coming to theater and listen to the opera. That's why teaching is so important. Teaching to young people what it means doing our job or singing, and teaching them the tradition of opera, because it's something that we must not lose. But I see that after COVID, I thought the theaters would be more empty because people would be scared. But no, we have sold out almost every evening. So it means that the demand, you know, that the people want to come and be part of this big happening. And I hope in young generations, because, you know, we've had beautiful singers and conductors in the past who have taught so much, but the new generations haven't heard those things. So I hope we can in some way bring them news of what it was in the past, you know, the experience and the tradition of opera. It's important that they know and that they can continue in the future. And so I hope we will see opera again and again and again.
Okay, Luisella?
Well, to live in Vienna, it means to live like on a happy island. You know that we have 3 opera houses, 2 concert halls, and it makes me sad to think that in Italy, where the opera was born, it's not like that. So I wish Italy first, but the whole world to invest more and more for the opera, for the music, for the culture in general, and not for wars, let's say.
Okay, Nino?
Yes, absolutely. What you just said. Something that made me very happy this last 2 weeks ago, when we had performances of Omar, which is a completely new piece that is going places, but was a major West Coast premiere. It was so sold out that I had to buy tickets to go in, which is something to say about, we have a 3,000 seat house, and for it to sold out, not for Tosca and Butterfly and Bohème, which is kind of expected, but something that is so new, and the story that kind of people were interested in and everything. So I think that people will respond if we are able to reach out to them in an educational way, and in a way to say, it's not only about velvet and gold and glamour and elitist of the opera. It is also about something that we all care for as humans. I hope and I believe that it will be around for longest time, because it really is most incredible form of art, combining so many various things. There is always going to be something for someone to enjoy in it.
Yelena, final thoughts?
I feel very optimistic, and especially coming back to the Met after the pandemic. I see so many people, and they are so excited, and they scream at the end of performances, and maybe it's because they were exceptional performances, I don't know. But I see a lot of people coming to the opera, and like Nino said, I see a lot of interest in new works. It's usually a big event, and I guess people have a lot of interest in new operas and new productions. So I'm very optimistic.
Okay, so we have a message from Sherry Grant. Greetings from New Zealand. I'm a pianist and cellist, poet, and journal editor who works with young singers often too. Thanks for this inspiring discussion. I hope to watch this again later. Thank you for organizing this, Simeon. You're very, very welcome, Sherry. Thank you for coming. Thanks. Hope to meet you all in the future. I organize music festivals too, so perhaps there will be future collaboration opportunities. And thank you very much. Thank you so much, Sherry. And you bring us to exactly where we're going right now, which is how to stay in touch with these extraordinary musicians. So I would like to first take a look at Yelena's website. It's yelenakurdina.com. Yelena, and people can reach out to you just about anything we were talking about. They can write to you here. Is that right? Is there an email?
Yeah,
there it is.
Yes.
Perfect. And even a phone number. So feel free to reach out to Yelena. And here is Beatrice. Here it is Teatro alla Scala.org. There we see her repetiteur, Beatrice Benzi. So Bea, people can reach out to you.
Yes, they can also write on Messenger if they wish. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram, so no problem.
So don't be a stranger. Beatrice is there. Yelena is there to answer your questions. Here we have the mdw.ac.at. This is the Music and University for Music and Performing Arts of Vienna. This is where Luisella is working. So Luisella, people can reach out to you here by going to contact, and they can write to you.
You can write my name, and then you have an email address.
Fantastic.
But I am also in Facebook, so
wonderful,
easy
perfect.
to reach me.
So feel free to reach out to Luisella. Here she is. And then Nino, finally, we have, I believe, a Facebook page, if I can get over there. There it is. It is Nino Sanikidze .98. And so there she is. As she said, she's a society person, and she is surrounded by people who are dear to her. Here's her Facebook, and people can reach out to you through this. Nino, they just write you a message?
Yes, and then once they get in touch with me, I will share my personal information, email and the phone number and everything.
Perfect. So thank you so very much to Beatrice Benzi, Dr. Nino Sanikidze, Luisella, Germano, and to Yelena Kurdina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, Simon, for getting us
you.
together. It's so wonderful.
Pleasure is all mine. So let's take a look at what we have next week. Coming up, we have here Finland's Savonlinna Theater. In the second episode of our mini-series discovering the extraordinary Finnish city of Savonlinna, we tour the Savonlinna Theater, a professional theater company that produces 5 new productions every season. Our tour guides will be Juni Räsänen, director of the Savonlinna Theater, Hanna Hautala, an actress and director of theater at the Savonlinna Senior Secondary School of the Arts, Chieko Okabe, a soprano and director of opera at the Savonlinna Senior Secondary School of the Arts, and Jorma Silvasti, a tenor and former director of the Savonlinna Opera Festival. As always, all information about upcoming shows may be found at www.simeonmoro.com. Again, that's next Wednesday, Finland's Savonlinna Theater. Once again, thank you so very much to Beatrice Benzi, Dr. Nino Sanikidze, Luisella Germano, and Yelena Kurdina. Thank you very much to Agnieszka and Benoit Rivolet for their support of the show. Most of all, thanks to you, our participants, who make it all worthwhile. From Vienna, Austria, Milan, Italy, New London, New Hampshire, New York City, New York, and Los Angeles, California, goodbye, and see you next Wednesday.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.